Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. Last week, we talked a little about Leah's trap range, where she is up there at college. And I wanted to share some shooting tips with her because I attended a super cool event and met somebody that had some outstanding tips. So stay tuned.
This summer, whether you're at the range or in the field, WSI Sports' Hypertech bamboo tanks, tees, and leggings will have you covered. Visit WSISports.com and use Leah's affiliate code, LLCO10, for 10% off your purchase. All products are proudly made in the USA. WSI is bringing back pride in American-made clothing. Again, that code is LLCO10 for 10% off your order at WSISports.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Mac Outdoors podcast, where a dynamic mother-daughter duo share their adventures, tips, and advice. I am Mia, and I'll be accompanied by the one and only daughter, Lea. It is time to get to outdoors, hunt, shoot, and spend time with family and friends. Let's get this show on the road.
Hey guys, welcome back. As we mentioned in the intro, my mom attended a super cool ladies event and has some awesome tips to share with us. So let's dive right in. What was the event that you went to?
So I was invited by the Colorado Bow Hunters Association to go and teach archery at a women's event. And it's called She Never Quit, which some of you might listen to Marcus Luttrell's podcast, which is Team Never Quit. But She Never Quit is an event and a foundation that was organized by Melanie Luttrell and the board members of the Women's Outdoor Media Association. They formed a fundraiser event where women come down and shoot, and they also have an auction and such to raise money to support an organization called the All In Foundation, which is basically widows of Navy SEALs, and they raise money to help support them after their husbands, or if other military, if it's wives, if once they're gone. So it's basically a fundraising event. That's what it was. So although I was invited to teach archery, there was a lot of shooting down there. We shot handguns, rifles, shotguns. And shotguns is Leah's forte, although she's good at all of it, but shotgun is her thing. I had a great roommate had you met Elizabeth Lanier, Lea, at any of the shows we went to?
I don't think so.
I don't think you had. So Elizabeth Lanier is I want to say world-renowned shotgun instructor, because she has traveled all over the world. And she is just a phenomenal instructor. She has a Fennel shooting, which is a shooting school. And she also has an organization called GRITS, which is girls really into shooting. And her goal is just to reach people and teach them basic shotgun techniques and get them to really bust clays. So it was really cool because she ended up being my roommate, so I was able to pick her brain a little. As you know, I can hit birds, but I can't hit clays. So what are your thoughts of why I can hit birds but not clays?
I think a lot of people that shoot like a lot of rifle and stuff don't have they aim rather than following with their eyes. They're pointing the gun at it and like stopping and shooting, whereas shotgun is a movement with your body.
Yeah. And so that's exactly aiming versus pointing, because when we're pointing toward the clay that you're actually going to follow through. And Leah's right. That's what I do. But why is it that birds are still moving, so how can I hit birds?
I think it's in your mind, knowing like that a bird you're shooting for a meal or to provide rather than a clay is just a clay, basically.
And I think you're right too, because as you've seen, I mean, my focus completely changes when I'm out bird hunting, huh? I mean,
Yeah.
at the trap range, I'm just like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I also, something else that I do is I anticipate the clays. I have a lot of anticipation, and I want to hit the clay immediately as soon as it leaves the trap. It's like, here it goes, bam, and I'm trying so hard to be so fast and not let the clay get away. And so, of course, I'll miss it. But one other thing is, I mean, obviously with that, I need to be patient. I need to wait for it to rise. And I've watched you do this at trap. You wait for it to almost peak, and then right before it peaks is when you're busting it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something that I learned is wait for it to float and get up to that almost to the peak point and then bust the clay. Something else that I learned, and it has a lot to do with the bird hunting aspect, is when I'm bird hunting, I can actually see the pattern on the feathers of the bird I'm going to shoot. I mean, I have that much focus. Like I can see the little V's in the feathers. And what Elizabeth showed me is you can actually see the rings on the orange clay spinning as you're shooting at it. Oh my gosh. Like this is something I never paid attention to, the rings. It's like, oh, there's just this clay flying through the air is the way I look at it. But whether it was the top of the clay or the bottom of the clay, I can still see the orange and you can still see it spinning. So that gave me something to focus on.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I never thought of that.
Yeah. So, and that, I don't know, I guess it just like turned a light bulb on in my mind, because I see you teaching people and you're a great teacher. I mean, it's just a quality that you naturally come by, because for our listeners, I don't know if you've heard the episodes, Lea basically taught herself how to be good at shotgun, how to shoot shotgun. We taught her how to safely handle a firearm, how to mount a shotgun, and that part of it. But she basically has done all the rest herself and gotten her stance and everything. I mean, her mindset and all of it, right, Lea?
Yes.
Yeah. And she's pretty offended when people try to take credit for what she's done. And although you are always willing to learn, right?
Yes, and I did learn a lot. I shot with Janessa Beeman, an Olympic shooter, and learned a lot from her. I love learning new things and new techniques. Even if it isn't something that works for me, it's something that I can take in and teach someone else. Maybe it'll connect with someone else that asks me for help or wants me to teach them. If something that doesn't work for me, it might work for them.
Right.
So.
And so for you as an instructor, something that I find is and even as a hunting guide, like I love going on guided hunts so that I can see how other people do things. But also as an instructor, looking for new ways to explain to people how to do it better, because some words might click with some people and some words don't. So you have to find different words. And that's something that watching the orange spin on that orange disc was just like, oh, wow, like how many years have I been trying to hit orange clays, and I really did well, and I busted clays. It was really cool. Be patient and watch the bird. Another thing was the cross dominance. I am sometimes, I mean, it switches depending how tired my eyes are. I'm cross dominant, meaning one eye is stronger than the other. And since I'm right-handed, I mount my shotgun on the right, and I used to be right eye dominant, but now if I'm tired, it switches to the left. So what Elizabeth taught me is wait for the clay to rise. As it gets close to that peak arc, and I'm looking at it with both eyes open, as it gets to the peak, I close the left eye just right before. And then that way I still have my peripheral vision and I can see, around me, because we need that peripheral view. And then right at the peak, close the eye, and it worked. So that was really cool, because I've tried in the past to, close my eye and wait, and it messes up your depth perception if you close an eye. So that was a great tip as well. You don't have that problem, right? You're left-handed and left eye, and you just keep your eyes open and shoot.
Majorly left, yeah.
left. So for our listeners, that's something. If you need to learn how to check eye dominance, I'll put a link in the show notes that explains how to check that. I'll also put a link to, I've shot shotgun left-handed, and I'll put a link to how to do that and how to shoot with your offhand so that you can learn how to do that. So, so far, so good. What do you think of these tips?
I think it's really cool, and just another thing to think. I never thought of a lot of that, looking at the lines on the clay. I know, like, I see it. I know a lot of it being a shooter, like, you do it, but it's just so routine that you don't sometimes know you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, someone actually saying it, it just kind of all connects together, and it's really cool, like, to actually see and hear the other aspects of it.
Right. Some of it, just like driving a car, like, you used to have to focus on each piece of the puzzle to drive your car, and now you just get in and you go. So same with shotgun, like Leah's been shooting. How old were you? 7 when you first shot a shotgun? 6?
6, yeah.
6? Yeah. So she's been shooting shotguns for quite a while. So she's gotten pretty good. Another thing that is a big thing as far as words to help people mount their shotgun. If you are having a hard time rotating and mounting your shotgun, swinging the shotgun, a thing with me as a rifle hunter, the shotgun or the rifle's usually on a rest, or if I'm even shooting offhand, I put it to my shoulder first, and then I put my cheek down to the shotgun or to the rifle. And with shotgun, you want to actually get your cheek weld first. So when you're mounting the gun, you want to get your cheek weld and then put it into your shoulder, which is partly why at the old New Mexico range you used to go to, some of those shooters would look up at the sky and they would get their cheek weld and then they're letting it hit their shoulder after. That's partly why they were doing that. So you want to get the cheek weld first, then get it on your shoulder. And obviously if I'm out bird hunting, I'm going to cheek, shoulder, shoot, because it's going to be that fast. And actually the shooting is going to push it into my shoulder anyway. So if you have it too far out there, you're going to get smacked in the cheek and the shoulder. It's something you have to practice, right? Practice your mount a lot. And I noticed a lot of ladies, and I don't know if any of the ones you've taught, they try to scrunch their head down to the shotgun, whereas this was a great tip that I filed in my files in my mind, is when you put the shotgun up, instead of scrunching your head down, you want to scoot your head forward, almost like a turtle. You stick your head out, and that's going to keep you on the shotgun, on the stock, where your cheek needs to go, without having to kink your neck down, and then you're canted in your view and everything else and messes it all up. So that was a great tip. Stick your head out like a turtle. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I knew you would like those tips. I was so excited I couldn't wait to tell you, but I had to wait till our video call for the podcast because I didn't want to spoil it. Yeah, and I had to tell you that I dusted some clays.
Ooh. Now you can come shoot with me.
Oh, the pressure. I'll have to practice before I go so I can act like I'm really a pro. Yep. Any other good tips that you can think of? Listening to some of those, do you have any other tips for people who might want to know how to shoot shotgun better?
I think a really big thing, not just with mounting, but your stance is really important. I helped a guy on my team, actually. He shot league when he was my age, and then he had started a family, and now he's doing it again. And he said it's been 20 years since he's shot, and he was so used to shooting rifle, and he was standing very, I don't know how you would say it, just like a T, where with rifle you shoot like over your hip, where with shotgun you want to be open, like they say, because if you are swinging and you're not open, then your basically restricting your movement.
Right. You want to be able to pivot and not, if you line out too straight, which is a great point, if you line out too straight, if you are left-handed, you're not going to be able to swing all the way to the right because you've got your body too far left. And conversely, if you're right-handed, you're not going to be able to swing all the way toward the left. So you're not going to be able to catch those left birds. And so that's a super great tip.
Right. And the same shooting stance as everything else. You have to stand almost in an athletic stance because you are getting the recoil. But I always was taught actually by Janessa was think of it, your belt buckle to the corner of the concrete slab that you're shooting on, because that is open. And then depending on the slot you're at, I know for the Station 5, I open up a little more because I'll be swinging harder to the right, whereas on Station 1 I can stand regular because I can swing left easier, whereas if you're right, you're going to be having that twist, and so you'll stand more open on Station 1 and regular on Station 5.
Right. So it would be the opposite. And that's another thing. I've worked on stance before, so that wasn't really an issue for me, but for people who are new to shotgun, usually shotguns are heavy because they're long and you're holding them out there. You don't have a bipod or something to rest them on. So the first thing new shooters want to do is lean back to hold up the weight. And this is why you have to practice a lot. And even for bird hunting, I mean, the first time I went out duck hunting or goose hunting this year, my trap muscles were sore. Those trapezius were sore just from the few times that I shot. But when you're at the line at trap, put your nose over your toes. So that's how you get your stance forward. You want your weight forward, not too far forward, but get your nose over your toes. And I've had people tell me stick your butt out, and oh my gosh, I've seen some crazy shooting stances from sticking your butt out, because you can actually stick your butt out without putting your nose over your toes.
Yeah.
So I like the nose over toes better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are my great tips for you this week, and I hope you like them. And I'll have to share more in another episode about the archery, and maybe you can do some archery tips or something, because Lea is a phenomenal archer as well, and I had fun teaching archery at that event too.
Yes.
Yep. So guys, thanks for tuning in. We hope that you enjoyed this show. If you have any questions, message us on our social media outlets. You can follow Lea on Instagram and Snapchat. It's Lea Huntress. And on Facebook, she has Lea Leggett, or her website is Legit Outdoors. And you can follow me on wherever it's Mia Anstein. So find me there. If you have questions or tips, let us know. We'd like to hear from you. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for tuning in.
Bye, guys.